If you do this yourself, you can see, you can scroll down and learn a little bit more about it. Yeah, it looks pretty tragic for me. They'll give you a bunch of recommendations based on your scores in terms of what you need to improve on and what priority. So feel free to go through that yourself. Okay, so I was gonna end the video right there, but I wanted to make sure that this quiz was as helpful for as many people as possible. So I actually went ahead and gave early access to a bunch of people to see how they found it. And they had a diverse range of results. Some of them scored pretty average, and some of them scored surprisingly well. And after seeing the results, I learned two things. Number one, people who weren't very confident in how they learned also had lower scores and an explanation for why they were not so confident. And number two, everyone found the quiz helpful.
Hello, my name is Julian.
Ed, and I've just taken
I Can Study
Learning System Diagnostic, and results were very helpful because previously I've never had something that would actually quantify and measure how effective my learning system was.
I definitely think that this is a tool that I could use in the classroom, particularly for subjects where we're teaching kids how to learn at a really young age, like year 9 or 10.
I found the test pretty easy to use. It's sort of good to pinpoint what exactly I'm doing wrong. So I did find it insightful in that regard.
And it's been so helpful just with not just learning the content, but actually understanding it and seeing the significance of a learning approach.
I'm just super grateful that I could give this a go.
I'm going to really try and incorporate some of the suggestions and see how they go.
So I'm super glad I did the quiz and I highly recommend it for you as well. It's only a few minutes, but the insights that you get from there will save you hours down the line.
So I'm really excited for you to give the quiz a go yourself. The link is in the description. Make sure to check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. And yes, by the way, I am in a new office. There are 6 levels or types of thinking that every student or learner of any age should master. And each of these 6 levels leads to a different level of result. Unfortunately, most of the students I work with are stuck in these first few levels of thinking, and the reason that they struggle to reach top results is because they are thinking at the wrong level. When this happens, it causes a lot of stress, it wastes a lot of time, it can be very frustrating, it can feel impossible to reach top results with any degree of confidence, and with enough time, we can start thinking that maybe we're just not cut out for it. But that probably is not true. And for me, learning how to think deliberately at the right level is one of the main reasons I was able to achieve top academic results in both medical school and for my Master's of Education. And trust me, I'm certainly not a genius. I've seen similar results with thousands of students and professionals that I've trained over the years, and by the end of this video, you'll be able to see what level you tend to operate at and how you can get to the level that you need to be. And FYI, the level you need to be is probably higher than you think, but we'll get to that later. So the first level is all about memorizing things. This involves a lot of rereading, rewriting. It is usually very repetitive, it can feel very tedious, it often makes us feel drowsy, and this level is called remember. It is the level of rote learning and repeating hundreds of thousands of flashcards. This is the way I and maybe you studied for most of high school, and it's maybe the reason why you might have hated studying. And when you do this level of thinking and studying, then it unlocks level 1 result, which is regurgitate. The regurgitate level is all about listing, defining, stating facts. It's the kinds of questions that are less common as you go through our university and become semi-useless in professional life. Confusingly, even though this first level is called remember, it's actually not a very good way to hold on to and retain the things that you learn. But we'll talk about that later. The second level of learning is about really trying to comprehend what you are learning rather than just repeatedly smash it into your brain. This is the level that we call understand. Now, there's a reason I've been saying these are levels of thinking and not different levels of studying. And that's because your intentions really matter. You could have 2 people doing exactly the same technique, and for someone looking at you, it can look exactly the same. And then when you ask them, hey, how are you studying? They might both just say, I'm just reading my textbook. But mentally, it's different. For the person at level 1, by reading, they actually mean I'm reading it again and again so I can try to get it stuck in my head. Whereas for the person in level 2, what they mean is I'm reading it so I can understand what it's trying to say and wrap my head around it. And so naturally at level 2 thinking, understand, what we unlock is level 2 result, which is explain. This allows us to answer questions that require us to explain our understanding of a concept or a process. These types of questions often make up the bulk of most assessments up until around later in uni. Now, if this is sounding familiar to you so far, it's because it's described in a framework called Bloom's Revised Taxonomy, which was first published in 1956 and then later revised in 2001. And even though it is 70 years old, it is still one of the most underrated principles that most students have never heard of. And if you have heard of it, stick around because I'll teach you a way of using it that helped me double my learning efficiency. So level 3 is about using what you have learned to then solve problems. And this is a level that we call apply. Now, this is where things can get a little bit confusing because a lot of people misunderstand this about Bloom's taxonomy. There are lots of different ways that you can apply your knowledge to solve problems. So, for example, you have what I would say are simple problems. These are the types of problems where you learn something and then you just directly use that thing that you learned to solve a problem. So, for example, in maths or physics, you learn an equation or a formula, and there is a problem that you need to solve by just using that equation or formula. Then again, there are what I might call a little bit more advanced problems, and these are the ones where you actually have to think about the best way to tackle the problem. There are a combination of concepts that you need to apply in a certain sequence, and there's a lot more strategic thinking involved. At level 3, we're mostly talking about the first one, simple problem solving. So we unlock that level, which is the simple problem-solving result. We're now able to solve what I call one-to-one problems, where there is one concept you learn, and the problem requires that one concept to solve. And you can get to this level, level 3, by just literally solving questions and solving problems. Lots of practice papers and quizzes have questions at the apply level. For something more procedural like coding, it might be building a simple function with a few simple variables. But what about the harder and more complex questions, the types of problems that are advanced? This is where level 4 thinking comes in. We're entering into the territory of higher order learning. People who know how to think at level 4 tend to do pretty well, but level 4 thinkers are not common, and you'll see why that is soon. Level 4 thinking is all about comparing and contrasting. It's about looking for similarities and differences. We call this level analyze. It's the first time that we're not just looking at information by itself, but we're looking at it in relation to another piece of information. And there are countless techniques that help with level 4 analyze. Venn diagrams, making tables, making summaries that explain similarities and differences, using mind maps, solving problems and questions that force you to compare one concept in relation to another. All of these things are going to be helpful. Really, any technique is effective as long as it forces you to compare and contrast one thing against another thing. So, unlocking level 4 accesses the level 4 result, which is the comparison level. And instead of just giving you some examples of what comparison looks like, I'm going to do one better and show you this great little study tip that you can use. Go on to something like ChatGPT or Gemini and type in this prompt. Give me questions at the educational stage that you want. So let's say second year university level 4, the subject. So let's say, in this example, we'll say microbiology at Bloom's Revised Taxonomy level. In this case, it's going to be level 4. And these are exactly the types of questions that test you at level 4. And you'll see that every single option forces you to compare ideas against each other. Now, the reason that this technique is actually useful to use in your studying is because Bloom's Revised Taxonomy was not created for people like you, like a learner. They were created for educators and exam writers. And internationally, almost every single curriculum is designed around Bloom's taxonomy or a similar taxonomy. They're all pretty similar to each other. Which means your exam writer is thinking in this way to create the questions that are going to filter out the good versus the great learners. Which means you can now predict the types of questions they're going to ask you and even create your own practice papers. But here is why level 4 thinkers are not common. As soon as you jump from level 3 to level 4, you will 100% notice that this level of thinking requires more mental effort. It is harder to do. You're thinking for longer and more deeply than the previous levels, which is a good thing because it means that your brain is forming deeper knowledge and stronger memory, but it can feel like you've gotten slower. And some people think that that means they're doing something wrong. So even though most students can think at level 4, most students choose not to because it doesn't feel as easy. This is a phenomenon called the misinterpreted effort hypothesis, and it prevents the majority of learners from ever really improving. And this is even more the case at level 5. Level 5 thinking is for the top learners. If you can think at level 5, you will be reaching those top results. It's also the level that people find the most confusing, so I'm going to make it really simple for you. Level 5 is all about judgment. At level 4, we analyzed, we compared and contrasted, we found similarities and differences. At level 5, we're asking, so what? What does it matter? Who cares? Why is it important? Level 5 is called evaluate. And learning to think at this level unlocks the level 5 result, which is prioritize. So let's do that little AI trick again and see the difference in the types of questions we get. So you can see level 4 on the left and then level 5 on the right. So notice that at level 5 we are forming conclusions and now we have to justify it. It's not enough like at level 4 just to know that there are similarities and differences. We then have to use that knowledge to make a decision. Level 5 thinking takes much more effort, and you'll know that you are doing it right when you are going back and forth between the material, trying to answer the question in your head of why does this matter, how does it fit in with everything else, why do I need to care? You're going to be jumping between your lectures and your textbook and doing a Google search. These are the signs that you are operating at level 5. And it's not as easy as the previous levels, but to reach level 5 results, you need to go through this. And level 4 and level 5 are the types of questions and challenges you'll find in second and third year university and beyond. And in postgrad studies, most of what you're assessed at is level 4 and level 5. Also, pretty much any senior position in any profession will require you to have level 4 and level 5 thinking. And much like before, it's less about what your technique looks like and more about what's happening inside your brain. For example, for level 5, mind maps, teaching, answering questions, creating summaries, these are all techniques that are great for level 5. But you could also do all of those techniques and still not do it at level 5 if you're not thinking in the right way. For example, it's easy to make a mind map, just connecting a bunch of lines and arrows together between words, forming a few groups and categories here and there, and just call it done. But that's not level 5 thinking. It's very different to, for example, creating a mind map where you're critically evaluating which lines and relationships are more important than other possible relationships. And you're thinking, what is the best way I can group these ideas together? Mentally, it's a very different process, even though physically it can look very similar. Now, level 6, I'll go through this one pretty quickly because, funnily enough, it's actually less important for most people. Level 6 is about creating a hypothesis. It's about synthesizing new and novel information from what you already know. This level is called create. And when you unlock create, it unlocks the level 6 result, which is hypothesize. Now, some people think that level 6 create is any situation where you have to generate anything with your knowledge. This is not true. It's only level 6 if you are creating an answer for something that you don't think the answer exists in your knowledge already. You're identifying a gap and you're creating a potential answer that makes sense based on what you do know. And the reason level 6 is not as important as the previous levels is because most people will not really be assessed at level 6 unless you are at the highest levels of education or your profession. Most people in their daily lives will be at the top of their game just being able to perform at level 5 consistently. But just for your knowledge, here are some examples of level 6. And as you can see, it's pretty advanced. You can pause to read this a little bit more if you like, or you can jump onto your AI and do this for your own subject. And here's the part that is going to blow your mind. If you want to get to level 5 and level 6, there are actually 2 different methods to get there. The first way is to start studying and just to go through each level from bottom to top. First you remember it, and then you understand it, and then you apply it, and then you analyze it, so on and so forth. This sounds very logical, but for most people, this will not work. The problem with starting at the bottom, mastering level 1, then mastering level 2, then mastering level 3, etc., is that it is very, very time consuming, and most people do not have enough time to even reach level 5, let alone master it. So in reality, most people will just do a little bit of each level kind of back and forth. Like for example, in lectures, they might be doing a little bit of level 1, and then a little bit of level 2, and then later, when doing some quizzes, they might be doing a bit of level 2, and a little bit of level 3, and they're sort of moving back and forth. If they do a more challenging question, they'll be doing a little bit of level 4, and then level 5. And this doesn't really work very well, because we will always forget things over time. In research, we call this phenomenon knowledge decay. It occurs because the memory has something called a forgetting curve. So basically, while you're doing level 2 and level 3, our knowledge of level 1 will slowly decay away, right? We're going to forget it. And so instead of being able to actually just move up the levels, we're going to be spending most of our time just relearning the things that we continuously forget. So instead, here is the better way to reach the higher levels. Instead of starting at level 1 and moving up, we're going to start at level 5 and actually move down. Remember level 5 because level 6 is not relevant for most people. And the reason this works is because our brain actually processes information and forms memory more strongly at level 5 than it does at level 1. And when we set our sights at the top, our brain will actually fill in and achieve the lower levels of results along the way, as almost like a side effect. And this doesn't work the other way around. If we are trying to just learn so that we can regurgitate material, our brain is not going to then be able to automatically compare or prioritize information. But if we're trying to compare and prioritize, then we will gain better memory so that we can, if we need to, regurgitate, explain, and solve problems. Now, by the way, the science on this gets a little bit complicated, so if you want me to go deeper in on this, then let me know in the comments. Like I said, level 5 takes more mental effort, but it pays off big time by forgetting less. So this means when we start studying, don't focus on trying to remember or understand. Focus most of your attention on trying to evaluate, which forces you to understand and analyze it in the first place. Now, if you found this video useful and you want to get the key points summarized, sent straight to your inbox, then I've actually got a newsletter where I distill my decade of coaching people to learn more efficiently into bite-sized emails. Each email covers one key concept that I think every learner would benefit from with some practical takeaways. The learnings from this video are also in one of those newsletters too. If you're interested, check out the link in the description or go to icanstudy.com/learning drop to sign up and you'll get your first letter in your inbox straight away. As always,